These things are sticky.
I'm sorry. I'll clean.
Hey, nothing like a big challenge. Well, if you didn't get out of that story already, we're going to go a little bit deeper into it. What I'd like to do today is kind of have you jump right into the story with me. Sometimes that's the greatest thing to do with the scriptures is to just read it and then like hop into it and see what it's like. This is a very significant story, like Sharon said. There's 4 Gospels or stories of Jesus' life. There's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And there's only 11 stories or events that are recorded in all 4 of them. And this is one of them. In fact, it's the second one. So it's a significant one. And then before we get going, I want you to remember that we're reading from the Gospel of John. John is very unique. He's kind of like a standalone. He's a loner gospel. And it's mainly because it's written later. And so we had a chance not only to see what Jesus did, but to sit back and reflect on it and see what kind of effect it was having and what it meant, the deeper meaning of what it was. So if you will, we're going to climb into the story. We're going to go way back in time. And we're at the seashore, and we see this boat coming, and as it gets closer, we realize that it's Jesus, who we've met before, and 12 of his disciples with him. They come and get along, and then you notice that there's also people following him, like a lot of them. This crowd is growing almost like a snowball as it gets bigger and bigger. And they were in a little thing like the Sea of Galilee or Tiberias, as they say, get in the way. And so they were coming by land and sea. And Jesus looked at the crowd and thought, there's something we've got to do. And so he went up the hill a little bit with his disciples. And I imagine they're going to do some strategizing. Like, what are they going to do with all these people? If you've ever planned an event, you know what it's like. And this was a big crowd. And so while they were up there, Jesus does something that I thought was really cool. Jesus starts messing with Philip. He picks one of his disciples and says, hey, what do you think about all this? Where are we going to get food to feed all these people? And I don't know if you noticed what Philip did, but he immediately started thinking finances. How much is that going to cost? My goodness, he starts adding up all there's about 5,000 people with, say, $2.50 a piece, and multiply that, add it up, and he gets all these numbers. He says, this is going to cost at least $11,000. I don't know where we're going to afford it. And isn't that funny how that's so human. When something great is about to happen or going on, and we figure out, well, can I afford it? Do I have enough money? Just think about the money. And I do that all the time. My wife says, we need to hang a picture here. And I'll say, how much is it going to cost? I don't think I can afford that. And we're just always, I don't want to ask about what it is or something, but we go straight to money, and it's not necessarily a good thing. And because money can be a problem. In fact, too much money can really be a serious problem. Have you ever known anybody that won the lottery? Somebody wins the lottery, and instead of being this great windfall, it almost ruins, or sometimes does, actually ruin their lives. So money's not the greatest thing. So Philip's all worried about money, and while he's still talking or thinking or calculating whatever he's doing, another disciple comes up. His name is Andrew, and we don't hear much about him. I think John only mentions him like 4 times, and he comes up with this boy, like little boy that we had here, and he said, well, this little boy here, he's willing to share his lunch. He's got 5 loaves of fish, and 5 loaves of bread and a couple of fish. And Jesus is thinking, oh boy, somebody gets what's going on. I think he's getting it. And then Andrew asks, but what's that among so many people? And Jesus says, didn't get it. So he said, okay, tell everybody to sit down. He said it was a comfortable place to sit. It was a grassy hillside. So they invite people to sit down in the grass. And I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but I started thinking, do you remember what he said about how many people there were? Did you catch that? There were 5,000 men. Well, let's say 3/4 of them brought along their wives. So that attacks on another 3,750 people. And let's say each one of them has got 2 kids, so that adds up 7,500 to the crowd, total number. And let's say 1/4 of the mothers needed help with the babies and stuff, so they brought their mothers along. The mother-in-laws were there. so that's 937.5 more people. And then I'm sure there were some rabbis following along. There's a rabbi, and the rabbis would have been accounted with 5,000, but they had students who were young, so they didn't get counted. Say there's 10 rabbis and 12 students each, and that's 120. So all of a sudden, this crowd sitting there is about 17,307.5 people. I never thought of that before I did the math. I always thought it was this nice little crowd, and they all sat there with these little halos over their head, and they were listening and praying and stuff. I thought, 17,000? That's a lot of people. Have you ever been to a Jimmy Buffett concert at the Coral Sky? The Coral Sky Theater seats about 19,000, so we're just a couple thousand short of it. What kind of mob that is? And they're not like in neat little rows. They're all crammed in. They got their blankets and their stuff and their coolers and everything else that you bring to a concert. They're all there, and there's kids being rowdy and running around and tripping over stuff, and mother-in-law's crabbing, and so you got to take care of them. And then you have to go out and use the porta potty every once in a while. And I'm sure that they didn't have blow-up beach balls like they do at the Jimmy Buffett concert. They're playing those all over the place. But it was not a nice, calm group. It was a mob, 17,000 possibly number of people. But then in the midst of all the commotion, all the movement, all the things, right down in front, Jesus took 5 of those loaves that little boy had, and he blessed them. And John wanted us to get the idea as he blessed those. We wanted an image going of what we did just a few moments ago as we took bread and we blessed it. We think about Jesus being the bread of life, that Jesus is the one who makes a difference and makes life even in the midst of scarcity or abundance. There's no cameras, there's no microphones, there's no jumbotrons or projectors, but down in front where probably very few could see, Jesus reached into the little boy's knapsack and he took out a loaf of bread and he gave it to Andrew. And then he took out another loaf and he gave it to Peter. And another loaf and he gave it to Nathaniel. And another one he gave to Simon. And another one he gave to Thomas. Are you counting? We're out of bread, right? And another one he reached in and gave to Thaddeus. And another one he gave to Philip. And another one he gave to Judas Iscariot. And he kept passing those out. And as the disciples went, I would imagine they had a basket or something that they were carrying it in, and they reached in and gave one, and another, until it went through the entire crowd of, again, possibly 17,000 people. And the Bible says that everyone had enough to eat. And then Jesus did the same thing again with the fish. He reaches in and takes out a little fish and gives it to Peter and to Philip. And he's supposed to be out, but he gives one to Andrew and to Matthew and to Simon and to Thomas until there's 12, and they're all going on. Everyone got enough fish to eat. Somebody asked last night, well, how was the fish cooked? I figured smoked. Everyone got enough to eat. It was a miracle. Now some scholars even say that, well, it's really not a miracle of multiplication, it's a miracle of sharing. It's like the people there saw this little boy give all his lunch, and they were so impressed that they reached under their togas and pulled out a sandwich, or reached into the diaper bag and pulled out, some Fritos, or bring out more things until everyone passed it along. Kind of reminds me, you remember that old story about stone soup? There's some travelers that came into a village, and all they had was a pot. It's a great story. And they went down the river and filled it up. They took a stone and put it in there, and then put it on over the fire, and set sat there watching it, their mouths kind of watering. First villager comes up and says, "What are you doing?" "Oh, making stone soup." "Stone soup? Is that any good?" "Well, it's going to be. It needs a little spices. And do you have anything?" "Oh, sure." Some spices. They sit there watching it boil, and somebody else comes up. "What's that?" "Oh, we're making stone soup." Said, "I got some carrots. You want some of those?" "Don't." And somebody comes in. "I just slaughtered a lamb." Until all the villagers come up, and they have the most wonderful pot of stew. Isn't that a sweet story? A lot of people think that's what happened. I think John was a smart guy, and he was very observant. And I kind of think that if that's what happened, he would have written it down, and he would have written up about what a great miracle it was that people, cheapskates like me, shared what they had. But that's not what he said. He wanted everyone to know that it was Jesus. That it was Jesus who multiplied the loaves and the fishes. And that Jesus is the bread of life. Not only does he feed his bodies, but he gives his soul. And then he encourages all who dare to believe that everything placed in Jesus' hands becomes a miracle. Whatever you can place in God's hand, whether it be at all or a little, pass it on and see what he can do. Well, after it was all done, Jesus said, "We can't waste anything, so gather it up." So they gathered up. Do you remember how many baskets they got? 12 baskets. Now that's another miracle right there. I figure if you're feeding 500 people and you get 12 baskets, you estimate it pretty close. Right? Like when we have company at our house, my wife makes a wonderful meal, and we eat the rest of it for the next 3 weeks. Because it's always left over. But this is a crowd of 5,000, possibly 17,000, and there were only 12 baskets. That's a miracle of planning, I see. So what happened next was that the crowds looked at what happened. They felt their full stomachs. They felt the joy and being in the presence of one another, the excitement of being of a crowd that's well satisfied. They said, "Hey, this guy's something. He knows what it's like to be hungry. He knows what it's like to be poor. He knows what it's like to be in need. He has leadership potential. We need to make him president." Okay. And so they started chanting, getting the whole crowd. Can you imagine 17,000 people? "Jesus for King! Jesus for King!" And then they went to get him, and they were probably going to ready to do a coronation right then and there. But they couldn't find him. For the story ended in John's Gospel that he slipped out the back door. He would indeed be king one day, but the time wasn't yet. First he would have to suffer and die and be raised again to life. In my mind, when I was just kind of roaming around in this story, it ended with kind of a Hollywood ending, I guess. The Goodyear blimp flying over with a GoPro, and it shows the crowd, and they're kind of dispersing. They're all kind of going their own ways, and then the GoPro just kind of focuses in on a small crowd, and then on a small boy, and you recognize him as the one who shared his whole lunch with Jesus and with the people. And it focuses in on his face, and he's got a look that doesn't leave any words, but it begged everyone who encountered him to believe and to practice. Everything we place in Jesus' hands becomes